Peace and blessings to everybody out there. Welcome back to the Fake Woke Podcast. This is your boy BobbyVILN, and I am back with another video. I'm here to talk about affirmative action and how it was overturned. What is affirmative action and why we really shouldn't care about it being overturned. So if you let a racist red, white, or shall I say a conservative, or if you let a undercover racist white liberal or white liberal or Democrat tell you about affirmative action, they'll basically tell you it was implemented for black people to get ahead in this country and to relieve them of their so-called oppression, which I'm not saying that black people weren't oppressed once upon a time. What I'm saying is that they use so-called black people's oppression as a footing to further oppress black people or to uplift other groups. So with that being said, we're gonna get into it. Affirmative action. So they were semi-right. We were under the impression that affirmative action was implemented in order to help black people, or it was intended to help black people get over oppression, get better jobs, get admitted into Ivy League schools and institutions in order to give us better education and to push us forward as a community and to help us rise out of the oppression that we were under within this country. That's what we thought it was for. That's what they said it was intended for. But if you really look at what affirmative action was, if you look at what even the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 and what that was, it never had specific speech or wording to where it spoke about relieving black people of said oppression. It was never really focused on helping black people. It was vague speech. If you look at the Civil Rights Bill of 1964, like I said, it never mentioned black people, but they incorporated women in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, right? So when they incorporated the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we were always under the impression that it was for black people. I know I keep saying that, but if you look at it now, it was for everybody but black people. It was for everybody else. And it's the same thing with affirmative action. Affirmative action, who benefited from affirmative action was white people. Really specifically, white women benefited from affirmative action. Why? Because of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They used the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to manipulate affirmative action and help white women get into certain institutions and get certain jobs before the black men and black women. Now, I'm not saying that black people did not benefit from affirmative action. What I'm saying is white women benefited more from affirmative action ever since it was implemented in 1961 by JFK. And then Lyndon B. Johnson, racist ass, turned around and basically sold it to the black community that this is for you, this is what we're doing for you to help you rise from the ashes and become a functioning community. But we all know what Lyndon B. Johnson said about us. He said he was gonna have us niggas voting Democrat for 200 years, and he ain't lied. I think we still got like 130 years to go. But that affirmative action, it was supposed to help us. They claimed it was supposed to help us, but they just used it for white women. White women benefited from that shit. So whenever they sit there and they tell you, oh, you guys had affirmative action. No, y'all had affirmative action. Y'all used affirmative action the same way as everybody else benefiting from the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but it was really for black people. It was worded, not worded, but we were told that it was for black people, but it was never for black people. Why you think they don't have to do shit for us now? You know? Why you think we don't benefit from shit really now? Why you think every time election come around, they sit there and say, oh, we gonna do this for you, we gonna do that for you, and then never do nothing and do everything from everybody else, from Indians, from Native Americans, from LGBTQ, from everybody else get a piece of the pie, but the black community continue to get crumbs, and we never, and all we do is continue to vote blue no matter who. We sit there, we ask for reparations, but to be honest, you're voting like you're not pushing back in order to receive those so-called reparations, you know? Voting for the wrong party to begin with, because you're voting for the party of the poor, but they continue to keep you poor. So that's my whole thing about the setup that we're in, and how it was set up for us not to actually succeed, but in order to continue to hinder us so we can continue to vote for a political party or align ourselves with a political party that do not care about us. They never really cared, because if that was the case, they wouldn't continue to hit us with their racist rhetoric, you know? Like, when you sit there and you see these Democrats talk about, oh, look at the racist Republicans rejecting affirmative action, they're basically sitting there telling you, you don't have the skills to acquire these jobs or to get into these institutions just based off merit, just based off your own mind and your own intellect. They sitting there telling you that affirmative action is the only way for you to get into these institutions, or for you to get employed, or get employed by a Fortune 500 company or whatever the case may be. They have to use your race. They have to use your race every time to sit there and tell you, well, they denied affirmative action and you should be mad about it because you're black, and the only way you're going to be able to get this job or get into this institution is because you're black. Nah, that's not the case. That was never the case. You feel me? They sat there and they used affirmative action, like I think what Clarence Thomas sat there and said, to just diversify the university. It was never really for, or never really to benefit us at all. It was just a disguise to sit there and mask the fact that it was really for, or it could be used for everybody else except for us. Like I said, we were the least likely to truly benefit from affirmative action. And they played us and they manipulated us and brainwashed us into thinking that affirmative action was truly for us, and it really wasn't. Just like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it was never for us. It was for everybody else except for us. And this is why I sit there and I say, all jokes aside, that we need to weaponize our vote. We need to really sit on our hands and force these people, the people in the suits, to really abide by what we say and really work with us in order for us not necessarily to get ahead, but for us to actually feel like we're heard. In order for us to get ahead, we just gotta, as a community, do a whole lot better than what we're doing now. We can't really rely on the government to get us out of this rut, because the government is who put us in this rut, who put us in this situation. It's up to us to really push our culture forward, or push our community forward. No other demographic really cared about the government. Every other demographic, truly, with a little bit of help from the government, got they shit out the mud. And they really put their communities first. And that's what we need to do. We need to do the same thing. But besides that, I'm done. Make sure you like, subscribe, and you share my videos, my content. I appreciate if you do. I appreciate if you just scroll by. I appreciate if you leave a negative comment saying some wild shit. I don't care. But thank you again for giving me a listen. I appreciate it.